All right. In the last video that I just did, I talked about the vidIQ data, how it was missing some columns like the modifier type and modifier, which you do get with the answer the public data. So let me go ahead and show you what I've been working on over the past weekend. And let me go over here. We are in SQL Server. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see my screen clearly. This is SQL Server. Now I'm going to go ahead and run this SQL over here, which goes against the vidIQ table that I have in SQL Server. And then you see over here, this is the sequence number, which is the primary key. Keyword, which comes from vidIQ. Related score is also vidIQ data. Search volume, competition, overall. This all looks familiar if you're familiar to seeing the vidIQ data, right? Nothing new here. Number of words. Now it comes here. Let me scroll this over. Now comes the keyword searched column. This is a column which I created and added to this table. So here I know what it is that I'm looking for. So I'm actually pulling data for these keywords: gym, fitness, training, and workout. So this is all fitness data over here. Now here it comes modifier type, questions. Oh, wait a minute, questions. You see my query over here. I'm going to highlight it for you. Modifier type equals questions. So wait a minute. The vidIQ data doesn't include a column called modifier type, which is correct. You're absolutely right. So I added this column and I populated this with questions. And if I scroll all the way here to the left again, these are indeed questions. Are you into fitness? Are you into fitness? How about you fit this? These are actually a couple of them are in Spanish. Let me come here. Does fitness trends work? How alcohol affects fitness? How do video, let me make this wider. Let me see here. How does a fitness tracker work? Okay, so let's scroll all the way over to the right. This is about fitness. It's a question, and the modifier is how. Now you're probably going to wonder, wait a minute. This almost looks like answer the public data, but wait a minute, this is vidIQ data. So you're probably going to wonder, wait a minute, there's a trick going on here. It says, Rex, how did you do that? Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit further, and you're going to see, yeah, indeed, this is vidIQ data. How to bench press, how to do body fitness, how to build a big chest. Yeah, this is vidIQ. Here are the numbers: search volume, competition, overall number of words. Keyword search is gym. That's a new column. That's not on vidIQ. Modifier type is questions, and modifier is how. You're probably wondering, that's weird. Rex, how did you do that? Wait a minute. So, and these are indeed questions here. They all begin with how to. I'm going to scroll on down. Let's look at a couple more. How to make, how to grow, how to move, how to sell, how to start, how to take, how to use. Yeah. Is fitness bad? Is it good? Is it worth getting? Hear more, even a couple in Spanish. What a feeling. What do kids think of? What every fitness influencer is like. Oh, wait a minute. Is that a question? What? Fitness questions starting with the word what? Hey, that's also listed as a question, right? So what I eat in a day. Here we go. What is body fitness? What is fitness? So here I got vidIQ data, which is categorized and labeled just like the answer the public data. So you're probably going to be saying, what's going on here? Okay, what's going on here is that I created yesterday, actually the day before yesterday, I created what's called a stored procedure. So this is in Microsoft SQL Server. So I came down here, and the stored procedure is a block of code which starts out with this statement like this: create or alter procedure, and this is the stored procedure. This is the procedure name. I'm using create or alter. What does that mean? So the first time I use it, it's using the create. And if I run it again, it's going to alter it. You only create it once unless you create it and you delete it. And then alter means you modify it. So if you use the create, you can only run it one time to create the procedure. And then if you run it again, it'll use the alter. You're editing the procedure. All right. So then we come down here. Begin means you the start of the code. We come down here. Declare is where you declare what's called variables. Now I have all these little variables created here. Each variable is a piece of what's called the keyword. So I'm going to come down here. This is where we have a loop in a piece of code called the cursor. A cursor is a unit which loops through all the records in the database. So the cursor is tied to a SQL, and I'll show you that in a minute over here. So actually the cursor is like right down here. Declare cursor. Declare is where you define something. Declare keyword cursor. Cursor for select seqnum. So this is the declaration of the cursor. Select seqnum keyword from a tube data workshop.dbo.vidIQ search results. So it's going to go through the whole table, the vidIQ table, but it's only pulling these two columns, the seqnum, sequence number, and the keyword. That's all I care about, the sequence number and the keyword. That's it. So if I go to this tab over here, this is the sequence number, this is the keyword. Okay? So I'm going to come over here. I only care about those two columns, and it's going to read all of them in the whole table. So then it's going to open the cursor, which means it's going to start the read, and then it's going to read the next one, or if it hasn't read anything, it's going to read the first one. And it's going to read them into these variables. Everything that starts with the @ sign is a variable. And these variables are defined up here in this declare statement. So it's going to read the sequence number and the keyword into int seqnum and string keyword. Why do they call that? Because sequence number is a number, and it's an integer, which is a whole number, and keyword is what's called a string data type. It's just a set of alphanumeric characters. Okay, fetch status equals 0, so it's going to do it while this status equals 0. This is the loop. So begin means this part, if from this code on to the end, is going to be the code that repeats for every single record that it reads through. So here it's going to say for the keyword in the string key2, get the first two letters from the left side, get the first two letters, and in string 3, get the first 3 letters. Here you get the first 4 letters. String 5, get the first 5 letters, etc., all the way to string 7, where it gets the first 7 letters. Why are we doing all that? Because usually a question starts with a word, and we want to define that with the question word and a space. So here we're going to go, if string 3, which is 3 characters long, equals is, but with a space, so is is space 3 character, 3 spaces, then we're going to update the table, and we're going to set the modifier type to questions, and we're going to set the modifier to is. There it is. And we're going to repeat that for all of them, for is, for do, for who, for are. See, now you're seeing the logic for how we're going to determine if the first word within the keyword field is a question or not. I even have it in Spanish for que, when, what, here, does, como, that's in Spanish, cuál, where, donde is in Spanish, should, and so on. Then we come here to prepositions, where we're going to test for can, for, is, near to, with, or without. So here we're going to use the like keyword and with the percent signs, which means it's a kind of like a wildcard. So we're going to say if the keyword is like can, so if can is somewhere, the word can, C-A-N, is somewhere located within the keyword, then we're going to mark it as modifier type proposition, and we're going to say the modifier is can. And we're going to do the same thing for is, I didn't highlight that, near to, with, and without. And then we're going to do comparisons. So then for comparisons, it's going to check for the words, these words over here, I'm going to highlight them, and versus, like, or VS for versus. Same thing. So it's going to almost run the identical code. So then you see here, if the string for the variable for keyword like and, then we're going to set the modifier type to comparisons, and we're going to set the modifier to and versus, like, or whoops, VS for versus. And at the very last one, so we're using all these else if statements. So only one of these statements can be true at a time. It only evaluates one, and then it goes to the next record. So if none of them falls through, so if none of them falls through, then it hits the very last one. So then it comes down to here, and it says, okay, we're going to set the modifier type to related and the modifier to none, and it updates that record. So in other words, it's going to update every single row in the whole table, and it's updating these two fields, modifier type and modifier. So if it can't figure out what it is, if it's not a question, and it's not a comparison, and it's not a preposition, then it's just going to mark it as related, and then it's going to set the modifier to none, and then that's it. Here it comes to the end of the cursor, and then it's going to say, okay, go ahead and read the next record into seek num and the keyword variables, and then here it comes to the end. When it's done, end means it's the end of the loop. When it's done looping through the whole thing, the close statement means it closes the cursor, and then deallocate also means that it's no longer, the cursor basically gets blanked out. And end means basically it's the end of the procedure. So here you go. It's a lot of code. It looks daunting, but actually the process is very simple. The logic is really simple. The one for the question basically is just this part, where it just gets the first anywhere between the 2 and the first 7 characters in the keyword, and assigns it to a variable. And there are like 6 different variables that I use to determine what's the first word in the keyword string, and then it just tests here to see if it is any one of these words: is, do, who, are, why, how, when, what, where, any one of these question words. And then the next part is for the prepositions, where it uses like, and the last part is for comparisons, where it uses like as well. So that's the whole code right there. So basically, you have right here a perfectly fine working stored procedure, which was fun. It was fun to write. It took me a day to do it. I haven't done a stored procedure in a long time. And again, when I used to work when I used to work for the, oops, I didn't want to go. When I used to work in Florida, I used to work for a government agency over there. I have 17 years experience working with Oracle and SQL Server. And I wrote a lot of SQL code. I did a lot of stored procedures. It's been a couple years since I've done it, so I had to go back and relearn some of it again because I haven't done it in a long time. But it was fun writing a stored procedure again. I haven't written one in probably 2 years. So I had to look some stuff up. I'll be totally honest with you. I am not going to lie. I couldn't remember some of the commands, and I haven't done a cursor in ages. But it was fun to see it work and get this thing to work. This stored procedure takes about 4 minutes to run because it goes against the table with over 24,000 rows. But it works. All the data is there. And like I just showed you, and I'm kind of proud of it because now it means, like you can see here, that you can actually query on questions or prepositions or comparisons and just get that data out of the database. So it's not completely perfect because if I add more data to the table, then this stored procedure is going to run through all 24,000 rows and whatever else I add to it. So I really need to put something in there where it doesn't rerun for all those 24,000 rows. So the solution to that is for me to add some kind of like a flag column where I say updated flag and puts yeses in those. So then it only runs for those columns where the updated flag is no, or where it's blank. And so then it doesn't rerun for all those 24,000 rows. It just does it for the new data that I add to that table. And then it won't take 4 minutes to run. It'll run in just like a couple seconds. So anyway, there you have it. There's a stored procedure. If anybody has any questions about that, you can also do this in Microsoft Access by writing a macro, and you'll get the same results. The end result of this is that you have vidIQ data, which has columns added to it, which will be populated with data, which makes it look just like the answerthepublic data. So that's what we're trying to accomplish, and we actually we succeeded. We accomplished what we set out to do. So there you have it. I was proud to get this done this weekend. This was my weekend project, and I wanted to show that off in this video today so that you see what it looks like in the video. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, let me know in the comments below. And please subscribe to the channel because we talk about data, how you can use data for your YouTube videos and for your blogs and for your articles. And we will, if you have any ideas for topics that you want me to research and cover, please mention that in the comments below. And we will see you then in the next video. Thanks for watching.